Hey everyone, my name is Steven Jimenez. I'm going to be going over the time trial, individual time trial results of today, September 8th, 2020. These team time trial events are part of the CIS program, where during the entire month we will have a designated course to perform a time trial on Zwift, and for the first 3 weeks for the first few courses we're giving parameters um, to focus on. For example, today's parameters was just don't go into Z5. So my goal was to stay in Z4. And so when I say Z4, Z5, I'm talking about my personal heart rate. So my heart rate for zone 4 is between 152 and 161, and that is the zone where I can work the most um, without having to go into Z5. So, because this is the TikTok route, the majority of the road is flat, with the exception of some uphills. Um, and so I decided to choose a time trial bike. This is the I think it was the Shiv with 808 wheels, because there's Arrow was really the best way to go for this challenge. Overall, I was happy with my effort. Um, my body wasn't 100%. I feel like in the past, I think my body could have done more, but given the circumstances, or given like kind of like how I was feeling, I kind of did my best and made sure I didn't go over Z5, and that I was staying in a cadence band, or average, trying to aim for an average cadence band of between 85 and 93. And as you see here, the average was 87, which I'm also happy about. Great. So let's jump into the ride. So here I am. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So here I'm approaching the start. So the start is usually at a banner, usually a sprint banner. So for the TikTok route, the segment goes from the start banner here, the sprint banner, I should say, from here, and then it's just an entire lap. So, off from the beginning, my goal was to hit 230, or to be around 230. So, starting off, that's kind of like what I was going for. But I noticed that my body wasn't really staying at 230. So while I was actually focused in on the course, and the reason why I picked 230 is because 230 gets me in that yellow power, as we see here on the bottom. So I started off hitting mostly green, and I wanted to see more yellow. But the more I dove into yellow, the higher heart rate I saw I was hitting. So as you see here, 230, and then you'll see it go up and every now and then. But anyways, was not feeling comfortable at 230 for whatever reason. And then I don't know what was going on here. I think I was just playing around with my gears, because I wanted to hit the 230, and I think at that point I was actually trying to, at this point I think I went at a harder gear. Let's see what I did. I think I was going for a harder gear, and then I realized, oh, this is a little too hard. So I ended up also just backing off from it. Um, let's see, where is it? Yeah, see, I made a harder gear, and I was pushing 250 at like 82 rates per minute, revolutions per minute. I think I just ended up just bringing it back down. So throughout the course, like I was basically trying to find that sweet spot, that gear to just stay on. And I think I ended up just staying around 88, 89 revolutions per minute. And then the range that I was just trying to maintain is somewhere between 200 watts and 225. It was something that I could maintain. It was something that I could control. Going for the 230, for whatever reason, it was uncomfortable in the sense that I had a hard time managing being consistent. So I was like, okay, I'll just stay between 200 and 220, 225, with the desire to hit like 220 or 215 more consistently than like 200. So during this ride, there was two things that I wanted to make sure I was doing. So one, whenever I hit an incline, and I know there's a few spots on this course where there's some inclines, I was going to drop to an easier gear. And usually, depending on the area, if I see 1%, I'll drop it. When I see 2%, I definitely drop it. Sometimes I'll drop it to even like 2 gears. But on this course, there are some parts where you hit a 1%, and you don't necessarily need to drop to a smaller gear. And there are times where I actually do drop, and then there's times where I actually don't drop a gear. And that was one of the things that I think also helped me lose my focus, was trying to figure out when to drop the gear and when not to drop the gear. And so with that loss of focus, you'll see some inconsistencies with the power that I was driving. So let's find an uphill. Perfect. So coming into this area, it's flat, and then it starts going up slowly at 1%, and then it ends up reaching 2%. So you'll see that I'm in my drops right now. I place my hands on the hoods in preparation to drop a gear. I drop it at that point, dropped it once. We're at 1%. Let's see if I drop it again. No, I don't think I dropped it. So this time I only just dropped it once. And I think it's because this climb was just not so much. And I think here I get to 159. So we're getting really close to Z5. And I think that's because I didn't drop. I only dropped my gear once. Like I went to one easier gear. When maybe I should have went to 2 easier gears and just spun a little, increase my cadence, just to spin more, so that I can get the power that I wanted. So I think that was the result of why my heart rate went up. And so the entire time it was just playing around with how many gears do I drop and how many gears do I go up, because that's the other thing I also did. Whenever there's a downhill, depending on the percentage and how long of a downhill it is, I then go to a harder gear, and you'll see my cadence drop from that 88 on flats to 80, 74, depending on how steep the gradient is, with the intention of keeping the power around that 200 to 225 range, and also dropping the heart rate. So let's find a downhill. I think around here. Yeah, around here is that uphill that I mentioned, that it's like not a big uphill, but it's still a change. And I think here I don't actually drop. I do put my hands on the hoods though. So here I put my hands on the hoods. Let's see if I go to an easier gear. I don't think I do. But I was prepared to. So yeah, then my hands go back into the drops. Because it wasn't a sustained climb. It wasn't like I knew that it was a short incline. Here I do drop. I dropped when I saw the 2% grade to kind of make sure I don't overdo it during that part. But yeah, so there's many times on this course where I kind of go back and forth, like, do I drop or do I just push through? So I think that contributed to loss of focus on this course. And I think it's a good idea to, even though I rode it, I rode this course last night in preparation, but I think it's still difficult at times when you want to make the best decision or you second guess your decision on what to do. I think almost you have to sometimes map out what you want to do and where. I think that's something I want to do next week, is really write it and like really do an analysis, like, okay, at this kilometer or this mileage I want to do this, or I want to drop it here, or don't drop here. Here is a longer climb, so here I definitely dropped at least two. At least I went 2 easier gears, so I went up with the intention again of outputting between 200 and 220 and keeping my heart rate low. So my heart rate here like went up to 160. I think it might have gone up to 161. But changing gears into an easier gear helped me manage my heart rate. And then over this hill, there's a nice downhill. And that's where I kind of push it into a harder gear to, again, continue to manage my heart rate, even to drop my heart rate, but still pushing that power that I want. So at the end of the day, I want to make sure that I'm consistently pushing a certain amount of power. And in order to do that with downhills and uphills, I need to play with my gearing. So here, my hands are on the hood. I think let's see. Yep, here I go into a harder gear. And here I go into another harder gear. So it's 2. I don't do anything more than 2. I don't think the steep was that much. The steepness of this downhill was that much that I needed to go more than two harder gears. But see, my cadence drops to 75, 74, but I'm still pushing 208, 210. That range that I was looking for. Again, just to keep that consistency, but at the same time, I'm now trying to drop my heart rate because I'm going into a lower cadence. I do the same thing here. Here you'll see the slight uphill. I don't think I drop to an easier gear because it's very slight. It happens real quick. Let's see. No, I actually do drop. I dropped to a lighter gear. I'm not sure if that was the best move. I should have just maybe even carried my momentum over that. And then I start dropping into a harder gear. Yeah, I think what I would have done different is probably would have maybe just carried my momentum instead of dropping a gear. Might have not been needed. And so for the rest of the flats, I kind of just maintain to that range. And I stay in that 88 to 90 RPMs. Same thing, I drop. And I think I did it. I think I might have done it too late because here my heart rate goes up. So here I'm going 89. My heart rate's already high to begin with. So entering this climb, my heart rate's really high. So I drop a gear. I think I drop one more. At least two, I know that. So I'm spinning 92, 93. Still hitting that target power, and was able to manage my heart rate to go down a little bit. But going into that climb, it was high to begin with, which is why my heart rate went all the way up to like 160, just barely going into Z5. And so that's really what I did throughout this course. Is I played with my gearings whenever there was a slight uphill, just trying to maintain that power, that desired power that I wanted. And in the past, typically I've had maybe a few seconds in zone 5, but this time I actually did it, and I was actually pretty happy with that. I think next time what I want to do is one, kind of like be a little bit more critical around where I should be going to an easier gear if needed, where I don't need to, maybe just need to push a little bit more. Probably be a little bit more critical of how to carry my momentum better. Also, don't ride the day before. I think I'm going to give myself a full day of rest. So I'm planning. I just got back from vacation, so maybe my body was just a little bit off from all the vacation fun. But I think next time, definitely will give my body rest on Monday, the day before. I will ride a bit more during the week, with some rides being hard efforts, and then seeing how my body reacts to it, seeing if I can move that range to maybe 210 to 230 or 240, whatever. But I think if if there's a difference in power, then obviously I'm getting better. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll analyze the route a little bit more, and then we'll be more strategic around what I do during the week in order to bring the best performance I can for next week. But overall, I was happy about this. Was happy I was able to maintain a great cadence and a good heart rate.